mind calm, body at ease, breathing quiet, sentiment benevolent. Dharma friends, sitting still in vital silence, wanting nothing, we practice eco-Buddhism The sound of the temple bell booms for all to cease from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of nonviolent global village forever. Here is the after sound of thunder of silence, light after Dharma rain. Amoga. Varochana Mahamoga. Mani Padme Chibala Avartaya.
Please stand. Chanting. The three refuges, often called the three jewels, are chanted in all our Buddhist traditions. We chant in Korean because our founder comes from the mountain monasteries of South Korea. Then we'll recite English. Please follow along and throw your voice in as best you can. I go for refuge to the Buddha.
I go for refuge to the Buddha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment.
And realize the great way.
And realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
I go for refuge to the Dharma.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
I will penetrate the teachings.
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
And uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
I go for refuge to the Sangha.
And resolve with all beings.
And resolve with all beings. Okay. I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many.
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
And transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
Please stay standing now while we light the peace candle. Could you please do that, ma'am? So each Sunday morning, we light this candle in our great aspiration that there be peace. Ceasefire. And we do 3 prostrations. So I ask you to join me in these with a verse which goes with each prostration. Just, I will face you, and we'll just go slowly. Hands together. This is a hapchang, means bringing things to oneness. Being in another's shoes. So we make vow. Remembering that all beings are Buddha. Buddhas. Coming down slowly. And if you can't, just do the best you can. Hands palm to palm and making focus at the altar. And please repeat after me. Always opening Buddha's mind.
Always opening Buddha's mind.
Always opening Buddha's heart.
Always opening Buddha's heart.
Always opening Buddha's hands.
Always opening Buddha's hands.
Releasing greed.
Releasing greed.
Releasing enmity.
Releasing enmity.
Releasing ignorance.
Releasing ignorance.
And then Sabaha,
Sabaha.
which means may it be so. Sabaha.
Sabaha.
Please be seated. in many ways, it's such an auspicious day. Sunshine, all long shadows. So many of you right here, right now. Welcome. And we are going to have a Dharma talk from Akshaya this morning. Could you speak up on that? And I'd like to introduce him to you. He asked Joe one day where he could have a, Joe, put your hand up, Joe. Yeah, here's Joe. And he asked Joe one day, where's some good place to just have a retreat? And Joe said, well, I just come from the temple, go. So he came for 2 weeks with us a few months ago, and we really got to know him. He became part of the family. It's wonderful. And so when we were talking, as we talk from time to time, and we were sort of had a issue to talk about. And I said, what do you think the solution is? And he said, deep listening. I said, will you give a talk on that? And he said, yeah, right away. He said, so this is Akshaya. He got a degree in education from Harvard. And he's currently at the University of Michigan getting his PhD in business administration. When I asked him, what do you really love? And he said, Amma. She's the hugging saint. Have you heard of her from India? Amma. And I said, why do you wear this gray outfit? And he said, he thought for a little while. And he said, I'm a practitioner. I thought it was just kind of really just right. Yeah. And so here we are, causes and conditions. And part of the causes and conditions that his mom is here from India, and she's able to be with us this morning for this talk. This is Seema. Welcome, Seema, from the whole Sangha. Yeah. So, are you ready? Yeah. Let's do the testing for the sound. It doesn't seem to be making any sound.
Got it now. ध्यायामो धवलावगं धनवतीं तेजोमयीं नैष्टिकीं स्निग्धापाङ्गविलोकिनीं भगवतीं मन्दस्मिताश्रीमुखीं वात्सल्यामृतवर्षिणीं सुमधुरम् Sankirtanaalapiनी Shyamanghim madhusikta suktam Amritanandatmikam Ishwari Om Amriteshwariye Namaha Om Amriteshwariye Namaha Om Amriteshwariye Namaha. Dear Dharma family and teachers, please forgive me for any mistakes. If I offend anyone, I seek your forgiveness.
and please correct me and help me grow. I offer my heartfelt gratitude to Anishinaabe land for holding us, to my Earth Mother and my birth mother, and to my teachers. Thank you, Haju, Maum, Hayun, Fapu, Cliff, and Joe Riley. So the title of this morning's talk is Listening to Reduce Suffering. Can you hear me? Mm-hmm. Listening to Reduce Suffering. I love acronyms, so please indulge me. I'd like to offer 3 acronyms that if you remember these 3, you would have walked away with the entire message of this talk. So here it goes. First, take your meds. Second, do a drill. 3, let it rain. Meds, drill, and rain. So take your meds. Meditate, exercise, diet, sleep, and sangha. Second, do a drill. Deep, reflexive, inquiry-based listening. Third, let it rain. Recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. I propose these 3 steps. Take your meds, do a drill, and let it rain, as foundational to the practice of deep listening. The practice of deep listening begins with taking our meds first. That is, we meditate, exercise, maintain a healthy diet, get enough sleep, and seek refuge in the Sangha. Why is it important to take meds before the practice of deep listening? Thai Thich Nhat Hanh described the dangers of absorbing other people's wrong views, incorrect facts, faulty assumptions, prejudices, biases, and negativities in the practice of deep listening to others. There's also the problem of getting emotionally codependent, enmeshed, or attached in unhealthy ways. In order to protect against these, we first need to take our meds. After having put the oxygen mask on ourselves, so to speak, we practice deep listening to reduce suffering. I offer drill, or deep reflexive inquiry-based listening, as a practice to engage in deep listening. This is a communications practice that I learned that involves hand gestures and physical props that Haju and I will demo in a short while. After having practiced this deep listening exercise, we then turn within to practice self-compassion. Self-compassion and loving parenting of our inner parts, our child parts, using the practice of RAIN, which is to recognize what is happening now through thinking, feeling, sensing, and naming, allowing life to just be as it is by accepting and acknowledging and understanding, investigating with a gentle, curious attention, and finally nurturing with loving presence through compassion, loving kindness, and self-care. RAIN is a practice that will help us integrate and heal our own inner child parts after engaging in the practice of deep listening to reduce suffering. So I'd like for us to practice the acronym together. So first, take your meds. Second, do a drill. 3, let it rain. That's the end of the talk. You got it. I'm just joking. So this talk today is divided into 3 parts. Theory, a demo that Haju and I will do in front of you using this instrument that I have described. And then we'll have some time for discussion and Q&A. So let's start with the theory. Why is listening important? It's been said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. It's also been said that God gave us mouths that close and ears that don't. Maybe listening is more important than speaking. I'd like to share a few anecdotal studies to contextualize the importance of listening. And these studies roughly align with the Buddha's 4 noble truths, or my interpretation of them. 1, there is suffering. 2, there is a cause for suffering. 3, there is a way out of suffering. And 4, here's one way out of suffering. Noble truth 1 and 2. There is suffering and there is a cause for suffering. The psychoanalyst René Spitz conducted studies in the 1940s and found that infants in institutions who were deprived of physical touch and emotional interaction had higher morbidity and mortality rates. These children showed signs of what Spitz called hospitalism, a syndrome characterized by developmental delay, wasting away, and increased susceptibility to infection and disease. In the 2000s, the psychologist Seth Pollack investigated the effects of early childhood neglect by looking at children who had spent time in Eastern European orphanages, where conditions were poor and caregiver-to-child ratios were high. Research that he did showed that the body's stress response, particularly the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA, which is involved in cortisol regulation, can become dysregulated through severe neglect. The mechanism for this is stress. This dysregulation can in turn lead to immune dysfunction, making the body more susceptible to infections and disease. The stress associated with social deprivation and neglect have profound effects on the physiological systems, including the immune response. Noble truth 1 and 2. There is suffering and a cause for suffering. Noble truth 3. There is a way out of suffering. Franz de Waal, in his book, The Age of Empathy, makes his case that humans are hardwired to be humane. He describes a study in Thai National Park in the Ivory Coast where chimpanzees took care of groupmates wounded by leopards, licking their blood, carefully removing dirt, and waving away flies that came near their wounds. They protected injured companions and slowed down during travel in order to accommodate them. Chimpanzees. Franz de Waal states, obviously competition is part of the picture, but humans can't live by competition alone. We would not be where we are today had our ancestors been socially aloof. Many animals survive not by eliminating each other or by keeping everything for themselves, but by cooperating and sharing. This applies most definitely to pack hunters such as wolves or killer whales, but also to our closest relatives, the primates. A student once asked the anthropologist Margaret Mead, what is the earliest sign of civilization? Mead replied, a healed femur. A healed femur, which was about 15,000 years old, was the earliest sign of civilization. It turns out that the femur is the longest bone in the body, and if broken, takes about 6 weeks to heal. In Paleolithic times, a person who broke a femur couldn't run to escape predators or hunt. Death ultimately follows, and there's a good possibility of being eaten. A 15,000-year-old healed femur was evidence that someone had taken the time to care for a wounded hunter. One of our ancestors had to do the caregiving as well as the hunting and nurse the person back to health. That healed femur was the first sign of a compassionate response of one human being toward another, and the link between healing of one's relative or community member and survival. Noble Truth 3, there is a way out of suffering. Noble Truth 4, here's one way out of suffering. Dr. John and Julie Gottman are a couple who study relationships, who are renowned for their work on marital stability and divorce prediction. Their research involves detailed observations using videotaped sessions of couples. In their research, they have studied something called bids. A bid can be any attempt from one partner to another for positive connection. Bids can be verbal, such as a question or a comment, or non-verbal, like a gesture, a look, or a touch. They've conducted studies where they record couples. So imagine this scenario. You have a husband and wife sitting in a room, and the wife's looking out the window, the husband's reading the newspaper, and the wife looks at a bird flying by. And she says, "Look at that bird." Scenario one, husband's looking at the newspaper, no response. Second scenario, wife's looking out the window, bird flies by. The wife says, "Oh, look at that bird." Husband reading the newspaper says, he picked up the bid. That is what they mean by a bid. Any sort of cue that you've listened. Now, they found that couples who stayed married after a 6-year period turned towards each other, towards each other's bids 86% of the time, while couples who had divorced averaged only 33% of the time. Is the difference between divorce and not divorce. The Gottmans have demonstrated that the way partners respond to each other's bids for attention is highly predictive of marital success. Couples who turn towards each other's bids consistently are more likely to have stable and happy relationships. Noble Truth 4. Here's one way out of suffering. It's called listening. We are social beings. Emotional neglect and social deprivation have devastating consequences. Care and compassion are critical to survival, and listening is the foundation for healthy and stable relationships. So what is deep listening? I'm going to say a few words about it, and we're going to demo in a few minutes here. Deep listening is the practice of holding each other's voice. The sole purpose of deep listening is to allow for the emptying of hearts in order to help the other person suffer less. It aims to flip the iceberg of communication. An iceberg is mostly not seen because it's underwater. And most communication is non-verbal and therefore underwater and not seen. Only a small part of it is verbal and visible. And so this practice that we are going to demo attempts to flip that iceberg through the use of hand gestures and props. Communication is not so much about what is said, but about what is heard. And deep reflexive inquiry-based listening or drill is a practice that attempts to uncover that. So we're going to now demo drill. It's a practice that I learned with a community in Boston. It was developed primarily by a person named Saras, and it's been inspired by non-dual inquiry, mindfulness-based stress reduction, Vipassana, self-realization fellowship teachings, trauma-informed care, permaculture, and non-violent communications, and anonymous 12-step programs. So I'm going to invite Haju up here to join me, and I'm going to move the props. So we're going to do a short demo, and we will then ask you to conduct a little practice exercise with one other person, and then we'll have some time for discussion. Hi.
Hi.
So, drill or deep reflexive inquiry-based listening, as I mentioned, is a communications practice that involves some props and hand gestures. So I'll walk through the props first. I'm going to start with the non-functional prop, which is a mirror. It's a mirror and it's a symbol of the non-dual truth. And part of how that's reflected in communications is that what I see in another person is a reflection of what's inside of me. So the mirror is here to just sort of be a symbolic reminder of that. We have something called the fluffy, which in this case is a little cushion. It could be any soft object, and this indicates that whoever's holding it has the voice and is the one speaking. We have a bell, and the bell can be used for several purposes. If you want to bring a pause to the communication, you ring the bell and the communication pauses. You lift up the stick if you have any administrative or housekeeping things that you need to talk about, like I need a break, I need temperature check, I need food, water, time check. The props, these two physical objects are called trophies, and they can be picked up by anyone during the course of the communication if there's something that's said that takes you out of the conversation. So if the person picks up the prop, the communication stops and they get to entrust the voice or the fluffy to one person in the group. In this case, it's just Haju and me. And the person who's entrusted with the voice asks the person who's got the trophy 3 questions. How is your breathing? What physical sensations are you feeling? And what emotions are you experiencing? And the person mirrors back what they say until the person feels that they're back in the conversation, and then they put the trophy down and the communication continues. There are napkins here, which is functional and symbolic. The function is that it's well to wipe your nose or your eyes or whatever other fluids coming out of you. And it's also symbolic to represent that all emotions are welcome. The hand gestures are pretty simple. So this is a request for a clarifying question, which you point to the person holding the fluffy. This is a request for an echo. And when requesting for an echo, the other person who's willing to give an echo just does this. And that indicates they're willing to give an echo. The sort of fundamental ethos of drill is consent. A person consent. A person can say no. And that comes from the nonviolent communications practice. So I know this is a lot of explanation, so I think it's easier to actually see it demoed. So we're going to do a short drill, and Haju and I are just going to see what comes up. So to begin the practice, we'll start with the sound of the bell.
I'm feeling really anxious. I don't remember any of that. What's that mean?
Clarifying question. Okay, so if I say something out of character, I'm going to use this as administrative housekeeping. I'm asking a clarifying question. Okay. Would you like a trophy? Are you feeling activated?
I am feeling activated.
Would you like to offer me your voice? Yeah.
Here's a voice.
So Haju, how is your breathing?
It's kind of, I can hardly tell I'm breathing. I'm a little bit nervous.
You can hardly tell that you're breathing. You're feeling nervous.
Really nervous.
Really nervous. Yeah. What are your physical sensations?
I'm grasping.
Mm. Yeah.
A little bit tighter than usual.
Mm.
My stomach.
Mm. So you're grasping the trophy a little harder than usual, and you're feeling some tightness in your belly. What are you feeling emotionally?
I find it really difficult to be trying to do this in front of all these people.
You're finding it difficult to do this with all these people.
Yeah, excuse me. I mean, I feel like my reputation is on the
So you feel scared,
yeah.
and you are afraid that your reputation is on the line. Yeah. How's your breathing now? How's your breathing now?
Oh, well, it's still there.
It's still there. Your breathing's still there. What are your physical sensations? Yeah.
It's helpful that you just keep saying what I'm saying back,
Mm.
and that you kind of have a grin on your face. So I feel like you're supporting me, but the one who really needs support right now.
Yes, yes. I'm offering you an echo. Would you like one?
Yes.
So what I heard you say is that it was really helpful for me to mirror back to you what you were saying. And you put down the trophy. What's help? Ask your question.
I feel like starting to feel a little more comfortable with being uncomfortable. Just taking the chance with it. Is this enough?
So that was a small demo of what drill looks like. In our little pod that practiced in Boston, we would end sessions with a practice where if you lift up the bowl and the stick, it's a sign that you invite some sort of creative expression. Song, you could dance, you could bring some clay and do some sculpting together, you could draw. It's just an invitation to do something creative, and we would end our sessions with this. And so I'd like to just end this little drill with a song. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. No longer in a hurry. Join me if you know the words. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. No longer in a hurry. So that ends our demo. Thank you for being witness to that. If you would please pair with one other person next to you and answer the following prompt. What value do you see in the practice of deep listening or a drill? And we'll take 5 minutes total. If you could maybe split that 2 minutes each. So you can turn to your partner and share.
So the topic is,
Yes.
what value
Did you see in deep listening or drill?
I'll even turn to better engage and get with you. Oh, here I was going to go. Yeah, in Detroit, about 45 minutes. Little distance. We mostly meet on the high pole, but then we also meet in Detroit once a month. No, we just we meet at a park and do meditation. Oh, what do you think the value is of people?
And also, I guess that could help with people of like more while it may seem somewhat silly,
Yeah, I agree with that. When I get to share it, something like I learned about myself, I hear myself say something. I guess that's what I need. Or when I hear someone else share, I see myself. So it's like I do see the mirroring piece that helps me be grounded, but also to know my direction. Yeah, I'm a musician, and those are we have ukuleles, we have drums and percussion instruments, we have guitars and keyboards. It's just a little bit of things. Yeah, mostly the songs. Mostly self-taught as a musician. So trained as a soldier. Meditation practice, but you share very healthy is about 2 hours. Well, here's about how so yeah, they're both musicians. Must be very proud of the
the clergy, like the I was never taught prompts. What I'm going through listening Because part of the community, he
Welcome back. We'd like to invite questions and thoughts, comments. Question that we have is, what was that like for you? What was the experience like for you?
Wait, let me pass the microphone.
Whoa. Feedback.
I really appreciated this. This has been a really great talk. But I want to say mostly, I appreciated Haju so much in being vulnerable and saying she was uncomfortable and just not feeling it. And I think that helped both me and my partner, who admitted we're both a little, uneasy talking to strangers. I think most people are. But by Haju's honesty and vulnerability, that was tremendously helpful to us. It's a little scary going through this, and you have to get comfortable with the discomfort, and it's worth it. But my first thing is, this is scary and uncomfortable, and I thank you for that.
I will add, Hayun, that my habitual tendency is to be with people who I know, like friends and stuff. But I was so glad that I sat with Joe and that, we got to know each other a little bit and hear about each other. So I think you're right. Breaking out of your comfort zone is really hard, but valuable.
Thank you for this talk. I think it was really interesting because often we don't talk about non-violence in the context of communication. And I also like that, for me, it's like some people maybe are not ready to hear some things, and like giving them the possibility to pause the conversation is really important. So I thank you for that.
I wanted to say we love you. It's always feel gratitude to be in your presence and to observe, to witness your being. I listened to my partner describe equanimity to me. It's always a good concept, a good goal. When we listen, we hear what we need to hear at the moment that we are listening. When I choose not to listen, I'm missing out on whatever the universe is trying to teach me at the moment. I yield to silence.
There's a couple of comments on.
Thank you, Ursula, Danny, and Juliana. We'll leave your messages for Haju after the service. But I'll go to the ones that are particular to this conversation. The first is by Ursula. I believe I know her here. There is comfort and calm conveyed by repeating what the other person says. There's comfort and calm conveyed by repeating what the other person says. The process connected to economy as well. So I can resonate with that. And the other one is from Danny. I think one of the benefits of deep listening is it forces us to be truly present and with the person we're listening to. Without being fully present, it's almost impossible to truly listen. I think that's so true. Like, you gotta stop your own thinking so you can hear the other person's thinking. Thank you for your presentation today. And I like the way you started off with meds. And the first word you used was meditation. And true listening is listening with the heart. I use my ears and my eyes to listen, but it's all transmitted in silence. It's not just the words a person speaks, but it's the tone in which they speak. And I listen for that. And I observe with my eyes as well. See, because a lot of language is just through the body. Recently, I was telling Pat out at Costco, and there was a woman in front of me with a heavy object. She was struggling to hold on to it while we walked to the cashier. I had an empty cart, and I encouraged her to put the object in the cart till we get up to the counter. And she said, nobody ever does that. You know, but it's natural for us to do that through our practice. Because as you shared earlier about the Eightfold Path, our suffering is eliminated, and that puts us in a better position to help others who are through our daily practice. And you spoke about the mirror, and I was told through my teacher that what's projected on the outside is a mere reflection. On the inside, a mere reflection on the outside. What's seen in is reflected out. If you have joy within, you will see joy in everything that you do in your daily life. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments. Any last questions or any questions for us or for me? Yes.
That's all right, I can talk about. I'm just wondering how it felt when you were just the two of you and we were all, like your second conversation. What was that like?
We talked about what deep listening meant to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think Akshay is a really natural listener. So I feel generally very comfortable with him. But then in this dynamic, it just didn't feel comfortable. And so it came out again. The when it's just the two of us, it's much better. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
So I can talk about, do you have the ability, thank you for the talk, that was absolutely beautiful. Do you have the ability to put it up online for us to be able to refer back to?
I will talk about that in my concluding remarks.
Yeah. So Akshay has some concluding remarks and then some offerings if you'd like to continue to work with deep listening.
So my invitation to each of you is to practice drill, and I would like to invite you, if you are interested in learning this practice, just speak with me after the service, and we will try and coordinate groups to practice, and hopefully we can have a regular practice at the temple to learn this particular methodology and to then sort of spread it. So, so please come speak to me after if you're interested.
I just want to say, because we did this one other time, because I didn't know what we were getting in for, so I said, could you please help? Is that what we did was slow down, talking to each other a lot more with all these things that we were trying to do. And also, it just, I think that was the main thing, slowing down. And it seems like a little awkward, but the props may actually help, even though they seem awkward, to slow down and grope around and be human, and then be able to work with that. So is this your concluding remarks?
Yeah, I'm going to conclude. I'll just say that there was a group of 3 to 5 of us in Boston that practiced for about 2 hours every week for about 6 weeks, and it is magical what happens over time. And I don't want to sell it too much. I feel like you have to experience it. It's one of those things where direct experience is better than me trying to describe the benefits. So let's have a few things I want to say in conclusion. So Priscilla Hayner, who has studied several truth commissions, including the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission, in her book Unspeakable Truths, finds that in transitional justice, listening is not merely a passive act, it is a more powerful form of acknowledgement. When survivors of human rights abuses have the opportunity to tell their stories and are listened to with respect and empathy, it can validate their experiences and start the process of healing. This kind of listening is critical not just for truth commissions, but for each of our own individual healings. And it is a first step towards justice and societal healing. Maybe we can offer each other the same healing gift of private truth commissions. As the theologian David Osberger said, being heard is so close to being loved that for the average person, they are almost indistinguishable. Part of our healing is also to offer each other healing speech and loving speech. And one of the most powerful practices is Ho'oponopono, which is in Hawaiian defined as a family conference in which relationships are set right through prayer, discussion, confession, repentance, and mutual restitution and forgiveness. It is based on taking responsibility for everyone's actions, not only for one's own. If one would take complete responsibility for one's life, then everything one sees, hears, tastes, touches, or experiences would be one's responsibility because it is in one's life. There's a simple mantra from the practice of Ho'oponopono that I suggest you use in drill sessions, and it's simple. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. To conclude, I'd like to share a note from my friend Harsh Luther. My dearest Dharma family and teachers, even though prejudice, hatred, violence, and wars are embedded in world history, these have never been able to completely overshadow the enormous capacity many people have demonstrated in every age to love, to nurture, to heal, to be peacemakers, and to forgive without reservation. Even when there is darkness all around, if one candle is lit, there is potential for others to be lit through it. That is the beauty of Sangha. Be that candle. Keep the flame of your love burning so others can learn to love through you, and the light of wisdom and compassion will guide your way. I end with a quote from the great sage Ramana Maharishi. He was asked once, how are we to serve others? And his response was, there are no others. Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Could I add one more thing to his talk? May I?
What's he saying?
Can you add one more thing to the talk?
Yes.
I appreciate what you said. And this is just a suggestion to the married men here. If your wife looking at a bird out of the window, you read the paper, you need to put that paper down.
Thank you so much on everyone's behalf.
Yeah.
And I would talk to with Jay about having a part 2, so we continue to work with this for our own peace of mind and for the peace of the world, starting close by. So are there some announcements?
Yeah, there are. Okay. Morning, everyone. I am going to invite Khalid up to join me. He is learning to be a greeter, and he felt a little shy being the one to give the announcements, but we're going to stand together and do
I thought this is gonna be next week. But
No, I'd like to put you on the spot. Okay, so for those of you who are here for the very first time, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the talk, and I hope you'll come back. We have these services every week at 10 a.m. And on the first and third Sunday of every month, we also have a service at 4 p.m. And so if you sleep in late, you can always go to one of those.
Okay, let him say it now.
Okay, so welcome if you're here for the first time.
welcome if you're here for the first time.
We have these every week at 10 a.m.
Yeah, we have this every week at 10 a.m. Sundays.
If you sleep in late,
But let him do it the best he can do.
And yeah, if you're not an early bird, you can come here at 4 p.m. The first and third Sunday of every month.
Okay. See, he gets to know us, we get to know him. Hey, how you doing?
may I speak again? Okay, on December 10th, we are having a big all Sangha celebration for the holidays. Rumor has it that we may have a special visitor, that their Jijang Posal might make up an appearance. So mark your calendars. That is Sunday, December 10th at 10 a.m. There is going to be an overnight retreat, introductory meditation retreat here on December 8th and 9th. Overnight session, December 8th and 9th. Okay. And talk about the yoga classes.
Yeah, it's gonna be yoga classes on Tuesdays. I think every Tuesdays.
Every Tuesday, when? What time?
In the evening between 6:30 and 8 p.m. And I think someone here does that. It's in
Someone does.
Anyone else today? Yeah, well, speaking of it, we come here, we have David Black as the 20-year-long meditation teacher from the temple. I think he actually met at Richfield for a while back then. And yeah, we come here, it's very relaxing. You go home, and you just feel rejuvenated. I highly recommend it.
Did you also go to a couple of classes, Matt?
Yeah.
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 I got really tired after work last week, but I'm planning on attending this week.
And on New Year's Day, that's January 1st, 1/1, there will be a New Year's Day service run by Moon. So that would be
It's a great way to
Yeah, that's a great way to ring in the new year. Yeah.
Okay. And I think we don't have to go into much more. So thank you all so much for coming. This temple is supported by your kind donations of time and money. And so in terms of time, we have something after the service for 15 minutes, 1-5, where we ask for your help on various projects. I have one big project that I need 4 strong people for 15 minutes to lift a big dresser in the top of the shop and bring it downstairs here, and a few other things. And Haji Sunim, did you have some things for people to do?
Actually, we have a membership meeting at noon, so I'm asked someone raking. We need some rakers for the front of the wall, putting in the big compost bins, the oak leaves, which are blown in from the 10 directions. And then out the back, we have some more soil to move because Brother Patu has made some more boxes. And so someone is going to be out there to supervise. If you can help, 15 minutes really makes a difference when everyone gets involved.
And probably my project won't take all of 15 minutes. So you can actually choose to do that if you have big muscles and then join some. Okay, so just look for us afterwards.
Yeah, the weaklings go some.
I am told that there may be a recovery Dharma meeting today. Is that true?
Yeah, always.
Yeah. Yeah, as usual in the historical temple, right? Right, the yellow building right next door in the library. Thank you. All right, and so that gives you lots of opportunities to donate your time. If you'd like to make a contribution, I see more?
Oh, great point. You can make a monetary contribution as well. There's a fishbowl right outside the door here. Thank you for that. But as far as opportunities to help physically, after this service is over, we'd like to keep the mats and cushions along the carpet here, and the rest we'd like to stack up in the back corner. There could be 2 piles, I think, with all the ones we have. We got the regulars and we got the seconds. So if you can try to sort of organize it and make it look nice and neat, that'd be awesome. Cushions go on the shelf up here. Much appreciated. And
there's one row over here.
And then those 2 rows.
Yeah, just the ones in the back.
The ones touching the rug stay.
Yes.
Okay, please stand. Making 3 bows. There was a stretch. We made it. All beings, one body.
All beings, one body.
I vow to liberate.
I vow to liberate.
Blind passions, one root.
Blind passions, one root.
I vow to terminate.
I vow to terminate.
Dharma gates, one mind.
Dharma gates, one mind.
I vow to penetrate.
I vow to penetrate.
The great way of Buddha.
The great way of Buddha.
I vow to realize.
I vow to realize.
So nice to meet you. Great job. Beautiful talk. So Sherry, it's so wonderful to meet you. Beautiful mother. I'm gonna give you a hug. Thank you. I'm sorry I can't stay for brunch. I'm good.
He's a teacher, a musician, and yes.
No, thank you for yourself. Okay, enjoy your time. So wonderful to meet you. Thank you for having him, for sharing them with the world. Yeah, I have to do that.
Can introduce you to my mom. This is Celine. She lives in Detroit.
Right across the street. I'm actually going to pick up her partner. Right?
Yes. So I can have
You're welcome. I'm going to be a little. Yeah, great job. You did it again, man. Okay, yeah. Over there.
We're going to have lunch with so we'll find a place to eat that vegan place.